Hey, everybody. Welcome to a very special edition of the Mustang Owners Podcast. And, Mike, it's at the Mustang Owners Museum.
How cool is this right now? Our
Get,
first time be doing this live here. It's going to be great.
It's never been cooler. And with us, of course, we have none other than the superstar of all museum work in the United States of America. Mm-hmm. It's got to be Mischelle Hall. Mischelle, thanks so much for joining us today.
Thank you for coming. I'm glad to have you guys.
Well, let's face it. The Mustang Owners Podcast wouldn't have been possible without your late husband, Steve, who was crazy enough to make a phone call to us. Now, that was his fault. We blame him completely. But we wanted to talk to you today about a couple of really cool things that have come up in our hobby. And one of them is the newfound, I think, appreciation for the museum here in Concord, as well as the fact that you and daughter Ashley and even your son, your whole family had decided, you know what, we're going to keep this going. So I don't know if you felt it yet, Mischelle, but Mike, isn't there like a newfound appreciation for people that support the hobby?
Absolutely. And I mean, this museum is just the best example of it.
So, you know, I know you started with this from the beginning with Steve, and be honest with us now because everyone's going to be watching. Did you think he was crazy doing this?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I'm like, really? We're 65. It's time to retire. And he's bullheaded enough, you know, from the 50th when they were talking about, you know, why is there not a museum? He was bullheaded as, I'm going to do it. Let's get it done. And so he started investigating, you know, how they were proceeding the first time around. And he goes, well, where they failed, I'm going to succeed. And he just took off from there and just did everything the exact opposite they did. And anyway, here we are, exactly.
So, Mike, were you involved with that? I remember I was at Auto Week when I got a call from John Clutty, who was working on the Mustang, and he said, hey, can you promote the Mustang Museum? We're going to, I said, where's it going to be? So, well, we're looking into Florida, we're looking into Atlanta, remember?
Yeah.
Would you remember any of that stuff?
I remember hearing about it. I was not involved. That was a little bit before my Mustang time, but I do remember hearing about it, and then since then, I've heard the stories about it. So for Steve to say what you just said, you know, to have that mission and drive it within him, and to actually make it happen, we got to give him all the kudos. And like John mentioned too, the Mustang Owners Podcast would not be here without Steve, so we want to say thank you for that as well, and we're enjoying every minute we get to do it.
Well, and not only that, because we know if he were here right now, he would just put us to work doing something else to push.
And I hope he's proud. I told you earlier, I hope he's proud of us, of what we're doing, because we love doing what we're doing.
Well, so that begs the question. So now, I know he called me and he asked me about the failure of the previous museum effort that Ford put time in, and some people that we know, Art Hyde, Kevin Marty, people that in the MCA got involved, and a lot of people when it failed and the money was spent on architectural drawings, environmental impact statements, you know, and not a stone was turned, not a shovel was turned, and all the money was spent. And all the money was spent. So there was a real sour feeling. So Steve had called me, and I'd made some phone calls because, you know what, I didn't follow it, Mischelle, but he wanted to know. So and I think to your point, he wanted to know what they did wrong, so he doesn't follow that.
Yeah, he picked like Art Hyde, everybody's brain on what happened. You know, what do you think could have been done better? And he just kind of went the opposite direction, and you know, it seemed to work.
Well, and part of it, Mike, for us as club people, everybody wanted it, but we all thought Ford was going to do something. And internally, a lot of people don't know this, but internally, when Steve was knocking at the door of this idea, there were people in the company, people we know in the Mustang community that said, wait, we should be doing something. And it got pretty high up in the company, but it was always a matter of, well, who's going to champion it? Who's going to fund it? How's it all going to happen? And I think in the world of Ford Motor Company, they're good at getting us passionate about their products, but they're not good on this side of it, which is running clubs and running the community. Community runs itself. So I think to Steve's point, there was so much clamor when they found out that the 50th was coming, and after 50 years, Ford wasn't doing anything. And then remember there was some talk about maybe Flat Rock and doing something in Detroit. There was some talk about the Automotive Hall of Fame moving downtown, and none of that happened. I think what was it that said, when Steve said, well, okay, if they're not going to do it, 50, I'm going to do it. What, do you know what the turning point was?
I have no idea. I mean, he just is so bullheaded on just wanting to get it done. He said there needs to be a museum.
Yeah.
Why is there not a museum? I
Right.
don't understand that. And we knew that Ford was trying to do one about the same time that the Corvette Museum was happening. And it's like, we have got to have, we're a much better community than they are. We've got to have a museum. We need to have a home place. So anyway, it was his idea.
Well, speaking of the Corvette Museum, Mike, do you think it would have been a good idea if somehow Ashley or Mischelle put a big hole in the middle of it?
Exactly.
So what happened here? Somebody I dropped a 302?
That's Mustang humor, folks.
Yeah.
That's Mustang humor.
Sorry, you Corvette people. Actually,
But if you're listening, we know you're a Mustang lover anyways.
actually, I'm not sorry. Anyway, okay, so then the whole launch, I mean, he couldn't get the thing in the building in time, so we had the temporary museum for the Steve was pulling rabbits out of his hat in preparation to move in with the museum that was built across the way. And then I remember coming here, and I think it was maybe a day after you got the certificate of occupancy that cars were being moved in there. Well, how did you put up with that insanity?
It was absolutely insane. I mean, it took forever to get everything done, and it seemed like everything came together like at the 11th hour.
Yeah.
I mean, it was just insane how everything happened. Getting bricks out front. I mean, it was just insane, all of the hoops we had to jump through, but he did it. I don't know. Somehow we did a ribbon cutting, and it was just like...
You did, and I remember we brought Gail Halderman down,
Yeah.
but let me say this. So when financially, after a while after it was launched, and it wasn't going to work, and then Steve could have made a decision there. And the decision, Mike, would have been, well, heck with this.
Yeah, exactly. It could have been very easy to make that decision.
Exactly.
In fact, I would venture to say that most people, after all that struggle, getting it launched and then running into that situation where now the building's not going to work, I got to either lose it or move it.
Right, right.
And then the worst part of all of it is when, of course, Steve, being the bullhead that he was,
Yeah.
decided to move it and find a new place just a couple of feet away. Then the backlash.
You didn't have to walk too far.
No, what he faced was so totally unfair. How did you get through that time?
Well, I mean, it was like we were so used to facing so many hurdles. I mean, our first hurdle was telling people about the museum. They were like, oh, they tried once before. Yeah, it's going to happen again. I mean, we had people that were bitter about the first $20 they gave.
blamed you.
Yeah, they're like, where's my first $20?
Yeah.
We had nothing to do with that. So
Right.
I guess we were just so used to hitting these hurdles that we just, hey, one hurdle at a time. But yeah, it was amazing. I mean, we were down to almost nothing money-wise, and we sold our house. I mean, I don't know anybody that would have done all that we did.
And that's so true. And Mike, remember? So you got a phone call. Everybody in the hobby, if you're not a Mustang person, then you wouldn't care about all this stuff. But if you're a true Mustang person, you understood that all of us, and we're from Detroit, all of us, and then you, Mike, got a call from Steve. I could probably do this. If we get this on the ground, you were going to lend your expertise to try to help it. Steve?
Yeah, I was going to be the operations manager for the museum me and Steve were talking about, and to try to run down and set up all the events and run all the events and everything that were down here, to try to take that off of his plate,
Right.
To try to do that. And, we're just working one thing at a time, and, and that's what we were working towards. But, seeing the preview building, and then it went to the other building, and now this is my first time seeing this one here. Just wow, what a transition, and you should be very, very, very proud. And I think the whole community appreciates and loves that it's here. There's so many different events that happen in Charlotte. This weekend's Oktoberfest.
Yeah, that's right. We're down for
The
that.
60th introduction was at Charlotte back in April. I'm quite sure all those, make it a bigger week for you. And then also people are making this a destination choice for their car clubs, things like that, to just come down and make this a destination spot for them to travel to.
So, Mischelle, that's the point we want to make today. Overcoming all this so much, and then
Even overcame COVID.
Yeah,
that's
COVID
right.
too.
Well,
Yeah,
We were shut
had to
down
throw that
for-
in the middle of it too.
We
Yeah.
were shut down for 9 months for
Yeah.
COVID.
No, and
it's like
when-
one thing.
it was left and right and left and punching.
Yeah.
It was-
Oh, yeah.
And then Steve was trying to make inroads with Ford. He's made such great inroads with Ford Design. He found some friends at the company. Jim AMCA came rolling around. Everybody seemed to be in line, and then Steve got sick, and then, but he, there was some kind of inner strength with this guy that I don't know if it just, but the question that people asked me, and they said, well, you know the family, so what happened? Did Steve then say, well, Ashley, and call everyone in the, all of your friends and family, and start helping me put this back together and build what you've built here? Or was it something, did you say, Steve, if this is your jam, I'm going to support you? How did you put up with all this?
Well, he thought he could beat cancer, so it just...
Well, that's the kind of strength he was.
Yeah, exactly. So we were just going to continue on.
Yeah, but here's what happened. When he passed, I'll bet you, Mike, if you talk to 100 people, 98 said, Michelle's great, but they won't be. They're going to pack it in.
Oh, I'm sure.
So we want to know, you guys not only have not packed it in, you have created a new aura about this place.
Right now.
With Steve's passing, you've the dedication that you've shown is like, I don't know what he's rubbed off on you, but it's like rubbing the genie.
We just want to make him proud. That's all.
Oh my God, I think you're doing that. And then, and I didn't know this, but you didn't just drag Ashley in then. She's been part of this since when?
From the very beginning. She's actually...
Yeah, she was running the store when I came down to the preview building.
She's always handled, she's worked from home most of the time, handled all the memberships and everything goes through her. And yeah, she stays busy. So, and like all our registrations for our car shows and things like that, she handles all that. And she pops back up here whenever we have big events. Sure. Like she's up here now for a couple weeks for the Foxtoberfest. But yeah, she's always, been from the beginning.
So Mike's big thing about running the Mustang Club is that he wants to be a mentor and he wants to show people how to do it. And then when they see how much work it is, they run away.
Yeah.
Very true. Very, very true. I got 20 years of proof of that.
All right, so you must have had, being right on the inside with Steve, it seems now there's so many people I've talked to in the last year who they want to help. They get. Your cars are coming in and out of here. It's like if you see the museum this month, 6 months from now, it's a different place.
Oh yeah. We constantly switch out cars. We have a database full of cars where people are happy to loan their car to us for 6 months. So it's been awesome. The outpouring of support has just been amazing.
Is that the average time? Is about 6 months they stay in?
That's exactly what we ask.
Okay.
Sometimes we'll cut them a break, but most of the time we want, because it's like a game of Tetris, moving the cars around here. So we don't, once they're in place, we don't want to touch them. So, we try to ask for 6 months.
So a person can come down, let's say you get a phone call and said, hey, I don't have any reference on Shelby, but I hear you have a library. Can I come down and read the World Registry and look through it? And that's all part of the access that you give the community?
Exactly. We have a library full. Our Sundays afternoons are usually full of people coming to read things in our library. Yeah. We're trying to collect one of every Mustang magazine and book. And people come in there all the time for a reference. So it's so cool. Yeah.
Well, I know this, that now that you've got this to the point where you've taken it to new, first of all, the community is grateful to you.
Yes, and very, very much so.
And everyone thought, well, if Ashley and Michelle said, you know what, we tried, thank you everybody, come get your stuff. It wouldn't have been, it's just not the same.
Yeah.
And now that the car hit 60 from the Mustang community and Mike from the club community, having this place, having, the Powells down there in Alabama, have the Haldermans, what you've done to keep this spirit going, I don't think there's enough, we can't thank people enough, because there's nobody else before you guys decided to take that leap.
Right, and you actually succeeded in a grand way, obviously.
Thank you. We do have people from all over the world. I do want to say that.
Yeah, no, that's right. I just posted a story from a guy from Luxembourg.
Oh, I know. For 1 month, the month of June, just for the heck of it, I kept track. We had 85 visitors from all over the world. It was amazing. Great. And that's just the month of June, and I didn't keep track of any days that I was off. So who knew how many, but I feel like we can never close because that one day we're closed, somebody from New Zealand would come. So I don't ever want to be open 7 days a week.
Bless you. Yeah. And I don't know if you guys know this. A lot of people think, well, it says Mustang on it, so Ford's sending Michelle a giant check every month. That's not, this museum is supported by the community, just like the Halderman Museum. It's how many people want to help and support through your generosity of bringing cars and donating things, helping out at events, and then not only that, Michelle, I think a big part of it is you say you want a museum, you say you want a spiritual home for Mustang. If you do that, you have to show up.
Exactly, you really do.
Because just talking the talk is one thing,
Yeah.
but walking the walk's the other thing. And Mike, you have to admit, I mean, from the grandiose plans, this place just feels so real.
Yeah, it is great. Honestly, I absolutely love it. It's my first
Yeah.
time in this new building, and it's absolutely incredible.
I mean, it's all thanks to our members. I mean, really, they help support us, when a lot of people didn't. I mean, even Ford said, we've got no money to give you, but we will definitely help you with speakers and support materials, and they've done that. And I can't thank them enough for the clay car. We have a full-size clay car.
Yeah, that is
Yeah,
absolutely
can you
incredible.
imagine getting the clay model?
It's
of
absolutely incredible.
I mean, people, their socks are blown off when they realize that's a clay car.
Yeah.
I mean,
the clay.
yeah,
That's
it's
the one,
amazing.
the approval car, yeah.
Yeah, it is amazing. So we've been very fortunate from Ford.
Well, and I think there's a reason for that, Mike. It's because what Michelle and Ashley are doing are carrying on Ford's legacy, and they're doing that out of passion and love instead of out of some financial gain.
And one thing I got to add on there is the majority of people on Team Mustang at Ford, no matter what division or department they're in, all are very passionate about that car. And it shows right now by proof of this sitting behind you right here that it wasn't just scrapped or anything like that, that it was brought so the rest of the enthusiasts in the community can enjoy it.
Yeah.
Well, so from everyone's deepest souls when it comes down to Mustang, to have the Mustang Owners Museum here in Concord and have you guys do the work that you do, and you're so welcoming, and the cool stuff that you sell, and the things that we can see and touch, rather than being like my house in a box in the basement.
Yes.
which there's
I'm
two
the same.
What's going to happen at my house? My one son said, "Well, Dad, when you pass, I'll look through it." And my other son said, "Dad, when you pass, isn't that 1-800 got junk?" How would he say that? This is terrible. No, what you've done here is saved all our legacy. So thank you for inviting us in and for helping this Mustang Owners podcast becoming so popular. It's because of the work you guys started here at the Hall family.
Appreciate that. We enjoy doing it. It's home for us, so we enjoy it.
Mike, sometimes you can tell when people like what they're doing, and sometimes you think, it's time to go.
Yes.
Well, I hope you enjoyed the sit-down with the woman that's keeping all this going, and her daughter Ashley, the Hall family of keeping this wonderful legacy of Mustang alive. Hopefully for another 60 years, so we'll roll you around in your wheelchair. so keep it going, keep up the great work for all of us, and keep on listening to the Mustang Owners podcast, because Mike, as we always say,
Everyone has a Mustang story.
and we're going to tell it. Have a great one.